So we're going to have a look here at how to choose a swing gate operator or a swing gate motor for single or double gates. It doesn't make an awful lot of difference. It's one motor or two. It's as simple as that. So the question is where to start. We're looking here at a page of our residential swing gate openers. You can find residential, commercial, industrial. So we've divided them up for you. And at first you might say, well, why so many? It's quite daunting. Well, the first thing I've got to tell you is that if you don't choose the right operator, if you don't have your gate set up correctly, if you don't have all of your stops in place and things like that, swing gates will just become your worst nightmare. Okay, if you just simply follow the rules and you do the job properly, they're fine. They're beautiful. So, although there's a lot there, right? Normally, by the time you've been through a process of elimination, you'll come down to sometimes only one or two that would suit you in any case. So we'll start with the different types of swing gate motors, because unlike sliders, there are different types. Okay, you can see we mentioned underground operator, linear operator, articulated operator. Okay, they're the three main types. Of that, linear is the mainstay. Okay, you probably sell 20 linear to one underground to one articulated in this country anyway. So let's have a look at a linear. What makes up a linear operator? This operator here is the Bob 2124, and I'm just going to go to the next operator. It's linear because it has this worm that, let's go back and see if we can hold it. Has this worm right up the middle of the operator and this carriage. Okay, so as the worm turns, the carriage drives up and down the worm, and that's what moves your gate. So if I go back, you'll see the bob. So that long arm style operator. There is another style very similar. That's, well, not really very similar. Okay, this one here is also linear. It does have a worm in there, only it pushes this shaft out. You can see it here, just on this photo here. You can see how the arm is extended. So, two forms of linear gate operator. Now, this is a classic really. A linear operator is generally used when your gate has posts. Okay? So, and not always, or not typically used when you have large piers like this. This is where people often use articulated. But as you can see, things are a little bit sort of, you can use them in different places. They've probably used a linear here because of the lack of side room, where an articulated arm would want to hit that wall. Let's have a look at an articulated arm. Different style again. Okay, shaft turns, and the arm is like an elbow. And it's as simple as that. Very, very effective, worked very well, and used a lot on the backs of piers like this, but you do need room for that arm to swing around behind. The third one, of course, is underground motors. There's the motor itself, sits inside what we call a foundation box, and there's your foundation box cover, so this is ground level. Underground motors are part of your gate design. They're very, very nice. They're like the Rolls Royce of swing gates, but you can't really fit them to existing gates. Okay, so you use an underground motor where you're planning your whole job and you say, look, I'm going to do this really, really well and I want to use underground motors, and you build your gates to suit. All right. So we've had a look there at the different styles, and let's close some of these pages down. Go back to our main choice. So already you may have said, well, look, I need a linear or I need an articulated, okay, just based on my setup and how I'm going to make it all work. Then we start to come down to basically the width of your gate, the construction of your gate, duty cycle, low voltage versus high voltage, and price. So let's just discuss those options. Width of your gate with a swing gate is very important. A motor is made to suit a gate up to a certain width. Okay? Now it's important to note here that we wouldn't typically choose a motor right up to that width. For example, if my gate was 2.1 meters wide, right, I would probably look for a motor that's capable of larger than 2.1 rather than saying, look, I just fit this category. Okay, the few dollars I save, well, probably, excuse me, it's probably going to cost me more than that later on down the track. So I might go up to a 3 meter operator. But if my gate was only, say, 1.5 meters, then a 2.1 gives me room for comfort. And so we're looking at the width of our gate and we're saying, all right, just how wide an operator do I need? My gate is 3 meters. Let's look for something with 4 meter. Okay. Your gate construction and the wind resistance. Gates today, a lot more of them use things like aluminium slats, timber, decking, colorbond, laser cut gates, and so they have quite a degree of resistance because they're the amount of the gate that's enclosed, and you need to take that into account. And the more resistance your gate has, and the more the larger the area, you would need to consider just whether you're in a windy environment or whether it's you don't get very much wind. You need to take all of that into account. And unfortunately, I can't give you a line in the sand there. Right? You need to consider, so I know the width of my gate, but the construction of my gate comes into the equation. Okay, if I've got a gate that is 80% enclosed, okay, and my gate's 2 meters wide, and I live in a windy environment, I might be looking for something with a lot of torque, or certainly I'd be looking for something, I'd double and say, look, I'm going to look for an operator for 4 meters. Okay. As I say, no line in the sand. You have to consider what you've got. A little later I'll explain to you, if you're unsure where to go to. Number of daily operations of the duty cycle. It is important, but we've done most of the work for you. You're in the residential swing gate motors here, so we're talking about motors that will quite comfortably do 5, 10, 15 operations a day, and that's fine. We'll do them very, very easily. If, however, you said, look, it is a residential style gate, but it's on a block of apartments, and there's 30 apartments, and it's going to run all day long, well, that's when you need to pop up here, go to your commercial operators, and you can see the list has been shortened, and with a few extras here down the bottom. Industrial, for your much heavier gates, okay? They don't necessarily, but they might have a high duty cycle, right? But it's for much heavier, bigger gates. If I just go back to the residential, low voltage versus high voltage. Look, it was a question some years back. It's rarely a question nowadays. Most people will pay the extra that you do pay for a low voltage, a 12 or a 24 volt. Having said that, when you do need a lot of torque, so if you've got a big gate in a high wind area, rather enclosed, then you might want to look at some of these 240 volt, and you'll note that we've written high torque. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're 240 volt, you can't have solar. So there's another consideration. Have I mains power, or do I want solar power? You'll see quite a number of these are listed as solar. Okay. 12 volt is much easier to do in solar than 24. You can use a 24 volt operator with solar, but 12s are easier. The final consideration is price. And look, price is an argument that goes around and round in just about anything that we buy. But the simplicity is gate operators are no different to anything else. So my only advice is this. It's pretty straightforward. When you're looking at gate operators, 90% of what you see on the market in the professional installers or in the gate shops will be Italian made. Okay, that is because the Italians have been leading the world in gate motors for probably about 50 years. There's a few South African around. There's the odd German one around. But you know, if you look for an Italian operator, you're not going to go wrong. If you look to the auction sites, you know, your Gumtrees and your eBays, you're going to find plenty of Chinese stuff. Best avoided, in our opinion. But you know, price is sometimes the be all and end all, and that's where you'll find it. But in most of the professional stores that you have a look at, you're going to find Italian made. And if you look down this list, every one of these is Italian made. Okay. All right, so as a bit of a wrap up, the first thing we consider is the style that we want. Okay, we might say, look, I've got 100 by 100 posts. Well, it's easy. We're going to go linear. Or I've got, you know, big brick piers. Then I might have to look at articulated. Okay, so that's a defining point. Then I consider my width. I consider my gate construction. I consider the wind resistance, and that starts to tell me the size of the operator that I'm looking at. Am I looking at something that'll do up to 3 meters, up to 4 meters, up to 5 meters, etc.? Okay. I'm really starting to narrow down because you see, let's say I did want a 4 meter. You can see I've only got 3 to choose from, and one of them's articulated, or 2 of them actually are articulated. So I might only have the one choice here, right? And if I wanted to use solar, it's perfect for it. Okay, it does have another option down here, which is a little larger, 5 meters, but it'll give me the high torque. So if I had mains power and I wanted that high torque because I'm dealing with a wide gate, I can. But I think you can see how things start to define themselves. Now, I want to touch on a few other things that you'll need to consider when you're automating swing gates. Okay, all automatic gates require gate stops. Okay, in the case of swing gates, there's a matter of safety, but it's also a matter of the logic control, which controls the whole system, knowing where the open and the close point is. While we're on the subject of logic control, let's say I chose a Bob 2124. It shows me the motor, tells me all about it. I can download manuals, I can have a look at the logic manual, a brochure, you can watch a video on the Bob here. And here's all your pricing. So a single motor, 624, logic control for 1 or 2 Bob motors, so single or double. There's the suggested logic control. Every now and then, but it's a 24 volt logic control. So it is true you could use the Bob 2124 with a different logic control, but you wouldn't ordinarily. The two are designed to work together. Okay, remote controls, keypads, solar if you wanted to use it, and outswing. But you will need stops. Okay, as I said. Now I'll take the assumption that the Bob is typically used in double gate scenarios. So we might be having 2 motors, a logic control, remote controls, whatever the case may be. And sometimes it's better to buy a kit. Sometimes down here you'll see a special Bob kit, and you would buy the kit. It's a much better value for you. Stops, because we've got double gates, I need a closing stop, a centre stop. People try and avoid them. Don't. You will drive yourself mad with maintenance if you try to avoid them. Most of the centre stops you can drive over. They won't hurt your tyres, they're fine. Okay, so no big deal. Then you've got your opening stops, bolt down stop, spring loaded one where you want to take some of the tension off of your gate. Okay, so there's plenty of stops available. Don't try to avoid them, you do need them. One final thing is that outswing. Okay, it is possible. All swing gate motors come equipped with brackets for in-swing. You know, you may, for some reason, need to outswing your gate. That is not a problem. It is easy enough to do, but the brackets that you have will not work. You can buy outswing brackets. There's a pair here, so if you're using double gates, you would want two, but if you're single gate, you just want one. And they will fit most motors. They will fit all motors, but may just need a little bit of adjustment to suit some motors. So you've got outswing brackets that are available. Other one thing, you've got solar sliding kits, solar swing kits, so you can buy them, and also solar farm kits. All right, so farm gates, let's just have a quick look there. Farm gates are different again. Why is a farm gate different? Well, you've got, let's go back to the previous. You've got a round section here. Sometimes you've got a round post here, right? It comes with all the brackets required for a farm gate. The other thing with a farm gate is they're very light and very flexible. So they need to move quite slowly. These motors are designed to move slowly, and they're also designed to take care with the gates. So if you're looking for a farm gate kit, okay, this is the way to go. It's called the E3300. Okay, finally, go back to our main page. If all of this gets a bit much for you and you still don't know where to go, I don't blame you. I've been doing it years. It makes it easy for me. But the easy way, if you just take note of this email address, service, S-E-R-V-I-C-E, service @automaticsolutions.com.au. You can write to us, tell us what you've got, send photos of what you've got, okay, and we'll help you make the selection. We may have to ask some questions, but we'll guide you through so you end up with the correct operator, and you get things right the first time and save yourself all sorts of heartache from choosing wrongly. Thanks very much for watching, and just remember that email address if you've got any questions. Thank you.